welcome. We want to go over the latest release of RenderDraw and talk about the overall features that we're bringing to the market as far as 3D and Salesforce. Inside of this, we're going to go over a couple of different use case scenarios. The first one is product visualization, which is actually part of the original RenderDraw product that came out last year. The product visualization has kind of been updated a little bit to provide new features to see your products in a different way. Also kind of highlight products that you have already in different ways, in different lights. From there, we want to go into the more advanced features and the new components that we have within Salesforce. We're released with this new version. This is going to kind of be a dramatic difference between what we have had in the past and what we're seeing moving forward with the platform. So I'm pretty excited about that. What we're going to do is start off with just the visualization, and for that, we're going to go into this motorcycle. And with this motorcycle is actually being rendered based off of a relationship that was set up between the product record itself and a 3D file that exists outside of Salesforce. We have the ability to render 3D files that exist within Salesforce as well. So if you wanted to use the Salesforce files features, we have the ability to utilize that as part of any scenario we want. But this is actually rendering from outside of Salesforce. And as you can see, it quickly pulled up our 3D rendering and put it right here within our native Salesforce Lightning component. So the way that this got to the screen before we got here, we can jump into the admin view real quick by pushing edit page. We can take a look at the different components that we have inside of this. And as you can see, we've got quite a few. Everything with RD next to it is the official release, and then we've got a couple different custom projects going on in this org. But to add the 3D rendering, as you see it here, it was as simple as dragging and dropping. And we'll add a new tab so we can see this. It's actually as simple as dragging and dropping the component directly onto the screen. So now that we have our new custom tab, let's do that. Let's go ahead and drag and drop our renderer. Now the simple renderer is meant to be just that. It's meant to render in place where you would see a 2D image or product image within Salesforce. We set up relationships between the records within Salesforce as part of the implementation. So this is more of a data mapping exercise than anything, but us at RenderDraw, we handle all of the 3D rendering as far as that's concerned. So there's no need for additional servers or anything like that in order to have fully interactable 3D directly on any product page or any application within Salesforce. Inside of this, you can see we can change the different sizing. We can render direct URLs. So if you have a custom project and you want to render a 3D model that exists outside of Salesforce, we can do that. If you want to render from the conventional relationship, meaning like you set up a relationship for the product object, you can actually pass in that record ID, and then based off of the conventional relationship that was set up, you can actually view and go and fetch that rendering based off of that product. Content version is actually rendering out of Salesforce. So if you want to actually upload all of your 3D rendering or a subsection of all of your 3D products into Salesforce, we can render directly from there. We have communities enabled. We have the ability to flag whether or not a user is interactive. So if you want to use 3D as part of your workflow for approval, you can do that as well. And then also, kind of the next big thing that we've got going on is the selection of components as part of the underlying model. So we'll jump into that in just 1 second, just because it's so dramatically different from what we're doing here. A couple more customizations that would be remiss to not mention here. Background color. So if you want to modify what the scene looks like by default for the background, you can do that based on this. We also have that within the context drop-down menu as well. And then brand image is a new feature that we have with this release as well. And this actually creates that image in the bottom right-hand corner, so you can always have a branded experience for your customers that need 3D within their communities or portal. And then that obviously can change based off of wherever you're using our components. So if you want to put a particular brand image there, you can actually dynamically update this based off of what you're showing, or you could just have it statically there for your company's logo. So we'll go ahead and back out of this. The next thing we want to take a look at is slicing and dicing. So when we think about a 3D rendering, most of the time it's going to be just a static image that we're kind of circulating around. We might want to give our customers the ability to zoom in and out, which obviously it's built-in functionality for us. Zooming in and out is kind of native. But we added quite a few new options here that we wanted to discuss and show. First off, we had the auto rotation feature on by default in the past, and there were a few comments about that as far as getting seasick was one of them, but effectively we've turned that off, but we've given the ability to turn it back on. So if you wanted to have the ability to have your 3D models just spinning next to your product's information within Salesforce, either on communities or really anywhere, we can do that by default. We can still zoom in and interact with this 3D model directly, so there's no functionality loss, but it does continue to rotate with that setting on. I'll go ahead and turn that off as we walk through more products and features here. The environment color, this is that hex color that we took a look at in the configuration panel within the Lightning App Builder. This gives us the ability to choose literally any color that you want as part of the full spectrum here. If you wanted something loud and obnoxious, you could do that. If you wanted something more subtle, you could back off a little bit and do it with that color. Interaction with this works fully touch. So if you wanted to use this within Salesforce on your iPad or on your phone, you can do 3D interaction within both of those devices natively. Components work directly within mobile, so there's no worry there. Within the desktop experience, which we're looking at right now, the mouse is where all the interaction sits. So by clicking and dragging, we're doing native 3D interaction just like you'd expect. By right-clicking, we actually can move the 3D object within the pane. So if you start getting a little bit too close, like there, and it's like, okay, let's go a little bit on the other side of this, you can do so. Now, this is all pretty rudimentary as far as 3D is concerned. This release actually did add in a few new pieces that I'll highlight as part of the visualization before we move on. The first one is we are by default now outlining all 3D renderings. This is just because it gives us a bit more depth when we take a look at the 3D drawings on any background or any color. And most of the time, especially when we have small components where it's very difficult to distinguish what individual pieces are within the build itself, this provides a really nice outline for us to be able to see. Obviously, you can turn it off whenever you'd like. If you toggle it, you can see it changes quite a bit there. But if you toggle it back on, I think it looks much more beautiful, so that's what we have to do. Now, on top of this, the debug menu isn't new. We have the ability to show the entire scene within the debug menu. This is not necessarily a feature that we really advertise, but certainly a nicety when you're creating a custom 3D interaction or scenario within Salesforce. We still have the ability to take snapshots. This is the ability to go in and actually, if we were to take a photo of this to include it like sales collateral or service collateral, we could do that, and it saves directly to your computer. You can then include that as part of your collateral by dragging and dropping it into the Salesforce files. New feature for this release is Slice. So Slice, I'm gonna have this photo here. Slice is just like you would assume it would be, slicing and dicing down your 3D models. So based off of the 2-axis model, we've got X and Y. We have the ability to slice and take a look at individual pieces inside of the drawing. So if you wanted to get a little bit more insight into what's inside of this 3D rendering, we can. If you want to get rid of that ghosted look, we actually can turn off the outline as well. So a little bit more in depth into seeing what's going on within this motorcycle. Obviously that works both ways. So the Y-axis as well, we can slide that down and take a look at it from the top, just to give us a little bit better view and perspective on how things are built. And this really plays into how we're interacting with 3D models beyond this visualization feature. So this is kind of the baseline. We would expect a Salesforce administrator to be able to set this up as far as the product visualization. And again, you can use it anywhere within Salesforce, any cloud, any add-on within Salesforce, and any App Exchange app that exists. If you want to add 3D to it, that's what we're here for. Now, I'm going to go a bit deeper. When we think about 3D, where we're really kind of doing well, or where we're really focused right now, is part of 3D interactions. So what we mean by 3D interactions, every interaction within Salesforce can be made better with 3D. And what we mean by that is if you've got a product drawing where you've got a product that's really complex, most of the time, no one in your organization will know 100% about every single product. It's just impossible with the diversity of products and diversity of components within those products. So what we've created is a dramatic way to kind of show off and focus on the important parts of what we're configuring. We have this powerful 3D engine sitting natively within the Salesforce ecosystem. As you can see, we're in Salesforce CPQ here, and this is on a Salesforce CPQ quote line, which is effectively adding a product to a quote. What we want to kind of highlight is this new component that we came out with, which is called the Advanced Renderer. So the Advanced Renderer has the ability to give us a little bit of play as far as providing context around what we're rendering, and then interactions based off of those contexts. For the full feature list, go to the documentation tool that we've got. It's fully documented, so you can use this as part of any of your custom projects. But really what we're trying to focus on right now with this is the initial use cases through configuration. So every single CPQ engine out there provides the ability to configure product options or attributes. Most of that works pretty seamlessly, but the issue that we found is most configurators require our users to go through dozens and dozens of drop-downs and sub-menus, which can be very confusing, especially if you have no point of reference for what you're configuring. So we have the ability to create what's called a context window, and this is actually part of the component itself. We're passing this in through Salesforce facets, but this is configurable and customizable for every single use case that's out there. This just coincidentally happens to be a configuration scenario. So initially, we're pulling in the model number of this good. We've got the quote line information here. If you wanted to put more in, you could, but actually have just two of the configuration pieces inside of this model here. And what you can see now is when we make a selection here, like this case color, for instance, when we make that selection, we can actually zoom in dramatically onto the part that we want the user to focus on while we're doing the configuration. And then we have the ability to also change the 3D model based off of what's occurring. In addition, you can see we kind of scrunched up the main rendering window here in order to fit in more contextual information. We call this the side menu, and the side menu can be customized as well. So effectively, the side menu is supposed to reflect what's happening or related information to what we've selected for the 3D drawing. Here we're showing recent orders for this component, as well as associated documents. So these buttons actually just show it an iframe for PDF documentation, but they are specific to the component that has been selected here. In this case, it's the RTU rack mount server case 3U. Now, we have the ability, as I said, to modify the 3D drawing directly within this selection pane. So we actually can send that off to the 3D rendering and update that case color directly from the configuration panel here. I'll clear the selection so we can get a better view of this, but effectively we've just changed the case color to black on our server. And as you can see, there's a nice little shiny sheen here from the material on the 3D drawing. But all of that's done directly within the component. We've got exposed events where we fire off events and the 3D rendering engine responds to it. And that's how we can apply this to any CPQ or any cloud that exists. So again, starting from the front pane, we click on the focus here. We directly fly into this point. We're flying into the rack mount server based off of the mapping that exists. But then we can do this for every one of the configurable items that exist. So we want to be a little bit more dramatic about it. We can also do this swapping out of parts or configuration parts. So when we take a selection here on this input, you can see we fly to the back of the 3D drawing here. And then if we wanted to, we could update this part with an additional power option, which we can do here, this advanced option. And in doing so, you can see the 3D rendering actually updated based off of that. So we pulled in an additional 3D rendering or 3D drawing. We're displaying it alongside the main 3D drawing as part of this configuration. And this can get infinitely complex as far as the configuration is concerned. That is to say, it's not complex to set it up, but it can match any complexity that exists for any manufacturer or anybody that has a more complex product. But again, we've got the ability to add in these materials and then even make a direct selection on them. So if we wanted to, let's say hypothetically, we wanted to back off our focus here from that piece and we wanted to look at our front gate. Making a selection on this is pretty simple. You just click on that. You see the RTU replaceable bay panel updated based off of that selection, and now we can go and see associated documents as they're related to that. So pretty new interactions exist based off of the ability to make direct selections within Salesforce on 3D. We have the ability to create things like service scenarios or service reorder scenarios for customer service agents that don't have to be trained across all products. Effectively, if you have the ability to use your eyes and your mouse, you can then click and select based off of the description of a customer that customer is providing over the phone. We're finding that this is really providing the next level of customer service experience, both from the customer side and self-service, as well as on the customer service agent's side. And then there are other applications way beyond this as well. So this is a really high-level overview. If you want a full demo, please contact us at sales@renderdraw.us. US.